Hello, welcome back to Code and Box Automation Lab. This is Sharful. So this tutorial about the multi-dimensional array. So in our previous lecture we have seen what is array, and we've seen some example of single dimensional or one-dimensional array. Now it's time to see multi-dimensional array. So what is multi-dimensional array? It's simply multi-dimensional arrays are nothing but the arrays of array. So it's more than one array. Okay, then we can say it is a multi-dimensional array. If you have a more than one arrays in a variable, then we can say it is a multi-dimensional array. So it's a arrays of array. It's called multi-dimensional array, where each element represent a single dimensional array. It means example is a two-dimensional array. We can talk about, let's see, I can show you. So in our previous lecture we have seen a single dimensional or one-dimensional array, something like this, right? This is the array name, and then it's the integer type, and this is my single the sign for the array, like for one-dimensional, and this is the multiple values, same type of multiple values. And this is the way we can declare and initialize the values for an array. But what if I have a multiple set of values? Like this is a one array, 1 2 3 4, and you can see this is separated by a comma, and then there is another set of array, it's like 5 6 7, and there is another one like 10 20 30. So this is a multi-dimensional. So this is one set, this is another set, and this one is another set. So it's a multi-dimensional array. Okay, so that's why when you declare the variable like my array, the return type is integer, since all the data are integer, and here we have to use the two sign like this for array sign, because this is a multi-dimensional array. And how is saved the data in our memories, and when you declare and initialize a multi-dimensional array, how it's saved? Here is the example. So again, here is a multi-dimensional array, the three sets of data, and stored in a variable, a array, and this is a multi-dimensional array. If it's declare and initialize like this a array, in our memory, how it's stored this a array, like you can see this picture image here. This is the way it's divided by row and column. What if is when we know that, so when you store a single dimensional array, it's stored as a row, like it's like a horizontal. But when you have a multi-dimensional array, it's stored in horizontal. It means it's gonna be the like first is 1 2 3 1 2 3, and second is 4 5 6 9 4 5 6 9, and the last one is 7. Okay, so this is the way it's stored. It means it is divided by row and column. The data in multidimensional array is stored in our Java memory or heap is stored by divided by row and column. So the first set of data, it's row the first row 1, and second one it's the row 2, and the third one is row 3, and each row is divided by column. You can see the first row there is a column. How many columns depends on how many element you have. For the first row you have a 3 elements, so it's a 1 2 3, and the second row we have an element 4 elements, so our column is 4, and the third one is rows, the column is 1 column. Okay, and so since to retrieve the data from array, we have to follow the indexing reference. So what is if I want to retrieve, what is the index number for number 1, the first one, this one? So the row is started, the first row is 0, second row is 1, and third row is 2. Similarly, the first column is 0, and then second column is 1 2 and 3. So for the number 1, the first element, this element, if I say what's the index number would be a of, it means array of row or 0th row, 0th column. So 0th row, you can say a of 0 0, it means the 1, it's referred to 1. Similarly for the next one, is like for the 2, it's a of 0, still it's row 0, and the column number it's 1, right? So a of 0 1, and next one a of 0 2. Similarly for the second row, it means the row number 1, so it's gonna be a of 1 0, then a of 1 1, a of 1 2, a of 1 3. And the next one, it's row number 2, so it's there is only one element, so a of 2 0, the column is 0. And then you can see this is the number, this is the number for the third columns. Okay, so this is the diagram. That's the way it's stored the values in our Java, in our memory, or in the Java memory, when you declare initialize multiple, or multi-dimensional array or two-dimensional array. So to retrieve the data, we have to use the index values, right? So there will be two index, right? One is for the row, and for the another one is for the column. And that's why when you declare a two-dimensional array, there is a, you can see there's a two, this the array sign. The first one, the first one it means it's allocate for the row, and the second one it's allocate for the column. Okay, so let's go back to our example. Here our example is like this. I have a two-dimensional array, and this is the values for two-dimensional array. So if I want to retrieve all the data, all the values from my this two-dimensional array named my array, how can I do this? Let's put this one in a comment. Okay, how can I do this? I can use to retrieve the data from an array, the best option to use for loop. And we have seen our previous the previous lectures, like if a single dimensional, just again it's for loop, and but if you have a two-dimensional, that time we will have to use for loop within a for loop. First for loop, it means the outer for loop that will hold the values for the rows, like the first one, and the second for loop, the inner for loop, will work to for the columns. So each rows and the based on the each row and for the columns values we'll use, there is the inner loop. So let's see. So we'll say for loop, I'll say integer I equals to, we want to start from the 0th, because this is these values are 0th row, these values and 1th row, and these values are on 2 rows. So I will start, since this is the outer loop, outer for loop or first loop. So this is for the is going to manage and maintain for the rows. So my rows is started from 0th row, so I will start I equals to 0, then I less than, it's how many rows, condition would be the length of the rows. Length of the rows, it means I can get the length of my this array dot length. You can see there's a length method. It will get the length of my array. It means how many rows I have. Okay, and that's the number of iteration I want to run, and then I will increment the value of I. This is the body. So after I fix my row, I want to go to column for 0th row. So how can I go to column? I will declare another for loop for, and I will initialize a value variable is called z equals to 0, because I want to my column also started. So 0th row, this is the 0th column, then this is 1 column, 2 column, 3 column, right? We have seen in this example, like every row, all the element it's a part of a column. So the first one is first column, which is the 0th column, then column 1, column 2, column 3, as long as you have the element. So that's why since this inner loop, it's gonna be managed and maintained, or for the is a declare for this the column. So my column is started from 0, so that's why I initialize a equals to 0, and then I will say now it's length. My condition is gonna be the length of the rows. So every rows I have a separate length, like number of columns. So first rows I have a 4 column, second row I have a 3 column, and the third row I have a 3 columns. So length of the column is not the same for each and every rows. So whatever the rows, so my condition would be the length of the column based on the row. So my row example, the first one is 0th, so my length would be 0th, the number of columns for the 0th row. When I will increment the value of I, so it means that it will move to the next row. This row should be this column, this condition should be the length of the column based on that row. So I have to use I need to use get the number of column based on the row. So I would say my array, and then I would say my array, and then based on I, because I said I need to number of columns, I mean length of columns based on row. So row of what array? This is my array. This is the based on row. I is nothing, it's just a row, because this is the I here is for the row, and dot length. This will give me the length, it means the column's length based on the row of this array, right? And then I would say j++. So this is my inner loop, and it will have a also body. Now if I want to get the value, now I have a outer loop for the rows and I have an inner loop for the column. So now if I want to get any specific values, so example I want to get these values, I have to go for the this is my arrays of index for row and index for column. Then I will able to retrieve the value, because the value is tied to the index number. So if I know the index number of rows and index number column, then I will get the value of that that element. So if I want to get the value of first element, I need to use the index number for rows and index number for column. So I can say sys out. So what's my array? Arrays, I would say arrays of, what's the index number for row? It's I, and index number for column it's j, and then it will print it. Okay, I'm printing the arrays of ij. So ij is nothing, I is the row and j is the column. So when it's I0 j0, so it means 0th row 0th column, it will get the first one, and then it will increment, the value of j will increment, so j is now 1, and then it will come here, the condition is still true, the I is still 0, but j got 1, so 0th row 1 column, it means this one, and then again it will increment 0th row and then 3rd column, then again will increment value of j 0th row 4th column, again the j will increment like 5th, but here the condition will be false. Okay, so it will come out from this inner loop and will come back to I. So I will be now increment from 0 to 1, it means it will move to the next row. This condition is true, will come again, so it's now I is 1 and will follow the inner row inner loop. So j is now is 0, so it means 1th row and 0th column, right? And then this condition is true, will come here, I is now 1 and j is 0, so we'll get this one, and then again j will increment, now j is 1, this condition is true, and then I is still 1 and j is now 1, it will get this 6, and then next one it will get the 7. Eventually it will get all the values from all the rows as per the column. Okay, let's save it, let's print it, run it, and print it. Here we go. Let's see how it's retrieved the data. First is 1 2 3 4. You can see 1 2 3 4, then 5 6 7 5 6 7, and then 10 20 30. This is now 10 20 30. It says all the datas, all the values from this two-dimensional array I can fetch, using this array concept, using the for loop, or you can say nested for loop. It means loop inside a loop. Okay, so that's all about the multidimensional array. So to fetch the data from multidimensional array, it's best for using is a loop. Like it's a for is the one of the best option, and definitely you have to use the nested loop, which is loop inside a loop. I hope you understand. Thank you so much. You have a good one. Bye bye.